And welcome back to Thoughts of the Roundtable with me, Matt Rebar.
And me, Paul Laux. I almost said
And
Chops.
look at you in your alter ego. I love it. And if you hear my voice, if you think my voice sounds bad, I am a little sick. I have like this like wet cough sensation.
Yep,
I don't
that's
know what it
exactly what I
is.
got.
What
I
is
feel
this?
like
What do we
I don't
have?
know, but I've been taking down throat lozenges like a 95-year-old man. Like,
Oh,
those Ludens, man, they're the best. I'm telling you. Not sponsored, but maybe they should.
yeah,
Um,
seriously.
they're the best, especially one with the cherry fillings. Ooh,
Ooh. I'm not gonna
that's
lie
good.
to you. I kind of missed, like, I don't necessarily miss the mask, but what I loved about the mask was like no one got sick when we all had masks on. We were all doing pretty
No,
good,
wasn't
you
it
know?
like I'm going completely off the top of my head, so I could be totally wrong with this, but I think like there's usually like flu deaths. There's like thousands and thousands a year. I think there was like 40
Mhm.
because of all the masking.
Mhm.
Like it had gone down like an insane amount.
Wow. That is
But
wild.
yeah. So as we had talked right before this episode, we were kind of going over what we would talk about. We decided because now is a great time to talk about the Twitter drama.
Twitter. Okay, so Paul, I'll be honest with you. Twitter is one, was one, is one, whatever you want to say. One of my favorite social media. It really used to be because it was like a group text. It was great for news, the timeline feature. Instagram and Facebook both did away with their like timeline features, and I really like having that live kind of update feed. Great for posting articles, posting links. And I love the subcultures. I think Twitter had a better job of kind of incorporating subcultures. So it is really disappointing that I do think that we are facing not necessarily the death of Twitter right away, but certainly a premature decay. I would say maybe at best, but
Mhm.
let's start with you. I mean, do you still use Twitter? Be honest.
Well, here's the thing. Twitter is really, really, and I don't know why I started following all the drama of this. I really don't, but I just did, and so I personally love Twitter. First
Mhm.
of all, let's be honest. It is the best social media for breaking news,
Mhm.
live events, up to date stuff. It's the best for like if you want to rapid fire content or do like
Like
text
stream
streams.
of
It's
thought.
the
Yeah,
best.
stream of thought. Yeah.
Yeah, and like specifically its niche is like say you're watching the Super Bowl, you get to
Yeah.
see all the live tweets come in. You don't get that on Instagram, you
Mhm.
don't get that on Facebook, you don't get that
Yeah.
so I always loved Twitter for that. It was always so it's the most instantaneous um social media out there,
Yeah.
and there's like if I ever see anything happen on live TV, I immediately go to Twitter. Immediately go to Twitter. So I love it for that. I will admit that I I didn't post a lot on there besides like personal links and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but I did enjoy just scrolling through it and just seeing what
Yeah.
people are saying. And I'm good. So it's I don't know if we're gonna see the death of Twitter, but if there's any, I'm so annoyed of that Elon bought it because I'll
Mhm.
say this, and hopefully you'll agree with me. It's like I can't stand his need to. He thinks he's the funniest guy in the room. He
Mhm.
thinks he's the hippest guy in the room.
Mhm.
He's throwing out all these memes when he's really just an annoying dude
Mhm. Well,
and
and not
nothing.
what upsets me about people like Elon, right, is people like, "Oh, they're such a great businessman." Like, "Look at the amount of money." And it's like, "Dude, that's blood money. That comes from Emerald, in the apartheid
Right,
age of South Africa from your family." So it's like so I really hate when people are like, "Oh, but like, look, they made this like multi-billion dollar company, hundreds of millions of dollars." It's like, yeah, it's really easy to turn $100 million into
yeah.
$1 billion.
Well, also
I
remember
can't turn $10 into $1 million easily, right? So,
he didn't start Tesla. He bought
mhm.
Tesla.
Who before he bought Tesla, who was like in charge of that? Like,
I think it was like two dudes who came out who started it.
let me look into
Um,
it.
but he bought it, and people credit him with PayPal too. But he bought PayPal too. I'm pretty sure. I
Mhm.
don't think he started PayPal either. But it's just annoying because it's just he's got this weird ego attitude of how he's the best, how he's so funny, how he's such a genius. When I
Mhm.
just don't buy it. he's been rich his entire life.
Hmm.
He's never had to struggle for anything, and it's just annoying.
Yeah.
And but in a weird way, the fact that it's dying is kind of like that was the worst business decision he's ever made. And I also love how
It is crazy. Like,
um
how did he get swindled? Because doesn't it feel like he got swindled?
well, I think what happened is I'm convinced that he was never really expecting to buy Twitter.
Yeah.
I think his thought process is like, okay, I'm gonna make some news for myself. I'm gonna offer to buy it because
Mhm.
that's, I'm Elon and I can do funny meme stuff. He
Mhm.
literally wants to be a living meme. And so he offered this crazy thing and he got himself into a bind where it almost was like because they sued him because he tried to back out.
Mhm.
And I think he kind of realized that this was the lesser of two evils money wise. Like he was going to lose
Mhm.
money either way.
Mhm.
So he kind of just went with this. And so, but he's going to lose, like, if it shuts down, he's going to lose like 44 billion. But it's
Yeah.
just hilarious. Because Apple has stopped advertising on Twitter now.
Oh, a lot of companies have. I mean,
Yeah.
let's
But,
first talk.
well, no,
Before we
before I
dive
could,
into that. Oh, go ahead.
no, because I had a point on that. It was hilarious because he goes, "Oh, these companies like Apple don't support free speech because they won't
Mhm.
It's like that is free speech by not wanting to advertise on
Yeah.
your site.
Well, there's a lot of elements, but I do want to address, when we're talking about 44 billion, the company Twitter has been evaluated for 8 billion. So I know for us poor people at home, right? Think of it like an $8 sandwich you bought for $44. Like, right? It's like
Mhm.
it just feels like really crazy to me that like how did they like it'd be one thing to say I'm going to buy it for 12 million. And to be fair, I've had $8 sandwiches and I'm like I would have paid 12 for that. I would have maybe paid 15 for that $8 sandwich, but a $44 eight like sandwich, like I want like golden ham. I want
Well,
flakes of
well,
caviar.
what basically happened? That's a good analogy, and in a good term is so basically Elon was eating an $8 burger
Mhm.
and he went to the chefs of it and said, "I'll buy this thing for $56 and fix it."
Mhm.
And they say, "Okay, let's do it." And basically he says, "Well, I'm just kidding." And then they settled for 44 and now he's acting like it's the best thing he's ever had because
Yeah.
basically he hasn't changed anything. um I do absolutely love the checkmark fiasco. That was the
Yes.
best.
So for our listeners who maybe are not familiar with Twitter, do you want to run them through kind of what the check mark is and
Sure.
kind of what happened? Give us a little background.
So way back when, there's a thing called a blue check, and it's kind of
Mhm.
like it's called a verified profile.
Mhm.
And initially, um, what it was designed when Twitter first came out. It was supposed to be used as a verification system. So when you verified your email address, your name, your phone number, and who you are, you would get this blue check that would basically say it's a verified profile. This is who
Mhm.
they say that is. But over time, it developed and it became really, really, really hard to get. And even the people who were handing those out were really like they didn't have set
Mhm.
rules. They were kind of just doing whatever. And so it ended up being like a status, like celebrities would get it, big businesses would get it, influencers and stuff like that. And so it became a status symbol. And so what happened is Elon decided, he goes, screw it. I'm going to say you can buy the blue check mark for
Mhm.
$8 on any account. So what was happening is people were starting profiles, and what really got him pissed off about it, were starting profiles that said Elon Musk and then buying a blue badge. So it looked like it was actually like Elon Musk,
Mhm.
or it looked like it was actually Nintendo, or it looked like it
Mhm.
was AT&T. And people were believing these were the legit accounts because the blue checkmark for so long had been used to verify profiles. So I think it knocked a couple, like there was some insulin company,
Mhm.
and they said they were dropping their insulin prices by three quarters, and it tanked their stocks by like $3 billion.
It's so funny.
And but what's funny is none of that stopped because eventually this whole buying the
Mhm.
blue check thing stopped. But that what stopped it was people were starting to imitate Elon himself, and
Yeah.
it pissed him off. And so the one that really sent him over the edge, I guess, from what I read, is someone had started an Elon account and got the blue check mark. And took his profile picture and everything, and said Tesla just uses a little bit of child labor. It's not that big of a deal. And
Here's
so,
the funny thing for me was before it was 8 a month, it was going to be 20 a month, which feels
mhm,
so out of touch that he thinks that, the average American, global citizen, whomever, can budget 20 a month for a blue check mark on Twitter. I mean, it just
mhm.
feels so out of touch. It almost reminds me of like,
Well, he
from
is out of
Arrested.
touch.
Well, of course, but like, it reminds me of Arrested Development when like Lucille Bluth is like, "How much is a banana? $10?" Like, it really like it just shows like, okay, dude,
Mhm.
because if he had been like, okay, listen, you pay $5 a month, $3 a month, I would have been like, okay, that's a scam. It's still a scam, but
Or 20
okay,
bucks a year.
no, 20 a year. So it just was funny to me from the jump. But then two, I just can't believe. And here's the thing: I bet people said this to him, and he just thinks he knows best. When you're offering the same feature for everyone, then there's no distinction of this quote system. Because if
Mhm.
everyone from me to, Joe Smith down the road to Tesla the company to Elon Musk has the same check, right? It just feels ridiculous. So the new feature they're rolling out is it's going to be like gold is for companies, bronze is for like public figures, and then blue is for like verified users who pay money. And even that system feels a little questionable, a little like weird because like, well, what if I'm a company, but I can only get a blue check mark, and I don't know. It just
Well,
screams a money bag, really, to me.
they they did roll out something else too. Go to on Twitter right now and go to any local news station in
Mhm.
where we're at. You'll see that they have the blue check mark, but under that it says official. So they started adding official tags to
But
verified
here's the
accounts.
thing: the blue check mark is supposed to be official. So why now do we have the blue check mark that means official, plus official, and it just it's stupid. It's just stupid to me. I don't
Well, he
know.
bastard. Here's the thing. He screwed up the whole thing. And well, first of all, Elon will never admit when he messes things up. Here's the thing about Elon. Tesla is a good example of this. He promises the moon, literal moon, and comes through on almost nothing ever,
Mhm.
ever. And that's been Elon's MO forever. He's been rich forever. So let's just get that out of the way. He's been rich forever. He's had these companies forever. He didn't start Tesla. He didn't start PayPal. He didn't start Twitter. He got into all these because he's not some genius people think he is.
Mhm.
And so he promised, like the Cybertruck is one that never
Mhm.
came. Remember those tunnels he was building in LA? They're now parking lots. It's the
What's
stupidest. He
so
comes up with the
upsetting
stupidest
about
ideas.
what's so upsetting about the tunnels in LA is like that money could have gone to actually improving public infrastructure, actually improving, speed train technology, bus routes. I mean, there's so many in LA and in America. Like when I get when I get a little drunk, I always complain. The first thing I complain about is transportation in this country. We are light years behind Europe, Japan, China, every other quote major quote country quote has such better systems. You go to these European cities, it's so walkable, it is so friendly, it is so in terms of the transportation. I mean, we're so behind. I should be able to get on a train and get to New York in 2.5 hours. I should be able to get on a train and go to LA in 6 hours. But I can't do that because we're not putting money there. And also, I'm talking to you, airline companies. You're part of that problem because you are trying to, still. And by the way, I had a flight recently. Oh my god, I'm just getting so angry, Paul. I am like
Well,
squeezing
you're
this
right about
pen.
these things.
Okay. I'm gonna call him out. I don't care. I don't care. I had a flight to New York. This was a couple weeks ago on United, and I was not allowed to take a carry-on bag, which was the
Why?
first. I just was not allowed. I had to pay $35 to get my bag put in the under the plane, and then $35 on the way back. So I paid $70. I was so pissed. I'm like, I remember taking all sorts of flights in the past where I could just bring a carry-on back. So it's like
You had to pay for a carry-on.
I had to pay. I was not allowed to carry on. Was not
Did
allowed to carry
anybody
on
have
back.
carry-ons?
Well, I think some people did, but I, for some reason, was not allowed. I don't know. Maybe I was in the poverty section. I don't know. but I did not have was not allowed to carry on bag, and I paid like I mean it wasn't like it was a cheaper flight. I think I paid like 200 round trip, but like give me my bag. And now I have to pay $70 so I can get some disco pants and some nice shoes to New York and back. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like, especially with COVID, we learned so much about like the airline industries and they're just scamming left and right and all these underpaid pilots, underpaid flight attendants. I mean, I just want to burn the whole system down. I say, fuck the airplane industry. We need to invest in trains. And that just makes sense. It'll be so much easier to go on a train. I mean, yeah, we'll probably still have TSA and stuff, but like, you know how the flights, then by the way, flight seats are getting shorter. And I feel like I'm going crazy because like, like in Seinfeld, it'd be like the airplane humor and you're like this is so stupid. It's airplane humor.
Yeah.
But like really, it's like it's so timely because the airplanes just keep getting worse.
You remember that brief moment when I think it was United who was considering putting bicycle seats on a plane? But going back to all, because I agree, these industries they're just, we should be able to have trains. But going back to what it was, because I really want to get your thoughts on it before I end things,
Yeah.
is the whole First Amendment thing. Because the reason Elon always pushed that he wanted Twitter, because he said it was his favorite social media, and that it could be a champion of the First Amendment,
Mhm.
which was hilarious when he first took over, because I kept an eye on this. What, like, I actually went through the terms of service to see like what
Mhm.
changed,
Mhm.
what rules are implemented. And he did change the content moderation. First of all, he said the first thing he's ever said is there's just going to be no content moderation. And then we had issues of like legitimate terrorists showing up, on there. So you don't want that. And so
Yeah.
he's like, okay, we're going to have content moderation. The rules he put in place were actually stricter than the ones he had before,
Yeah.
that they had before. Now, he claims, it goes, oh, I was just, confirming things and making it less opaque. True. But in a way, he actually made the content stricter. And so there's still content moderation, as there should be. There's
Mhm.
still rules and regulations. And what's hilarious is one of the things, and I'm not a fan of Trump. Everyone knows this.
Mhm.
But he did one thing that I thought was absolutely hilarious. And it's his lack of doing something. Because when, he was going on about this, because Trump had famously been, his account had been suspended. And so Elon was the guy who was like, I'm going to bring Trump back to Twitter. I'm going to bring Trump back to Twitter. I'm going to bring Trump back to Twitter.
Mhm.
So he finally gets hold of Twitter. And sure enough, he does a poll on his, Twitter, whatever. Should I bring back Trump? He, yes, wins. So he unsuspends Trump's account. Trump's response is, no, man, I'm good. I'm not going to come back.
Which is so funny because of the amount of I mean, I don't want to be inappropriate for our more, pearl clutching, but the amount of butt eating that went on for Donald Trump to then go, I'm not coming back to Twitter. I mean,
It was
it is just desserts. It
absolutely
really is like
hilarious.
cherry on the cake on
Like,
that one.
I just, it's one of the funniest things ever that he wanted to champion. So I'm going to bring him back. I'm going to bring. So he finally unlocks his account, and
Yeah.
Trump is like, "Nah, man, I'm going to stick with my Truth Social." That was, I laughed so hard when I saw that, man,
Yeah.
because it's just, Elon drives me freaking nuts, because he's just, and he thinks he knows it all. He thinks he's hilarious. He thinks he's the biggest guy in the room, and
Yeah.
he's just not any of that.
Hmm.
And he just, nothing he ever says comes to fruition.
Hmm.
Nothing he ever, and it's just, I don't know. He thinks he's just some edgy dude, and it's
Hmm.
just annoying. He's just annoying.
So I read an article that talked about like what's going to happen, and a lot of the theory is that because they fired a lot of people, it looks like they're trying to trim the staff because finances. We're going to see a
Anyway,
lot
can
of
I go? Can I interject on that point
oh
real quick?
yeah, of course.
Sorry, just that one point, because I didn't want to
Hmm.
blow by it.
Hmm.
He had let all those people go, and then he had, did you see, he just scrambled to hire people back?
Oh yeah, because he let go people that were like super integral to like the data operations and
Yeah.
logistics, and it's like, dude, how do you not like verify who you're letting go? Like, come on.
All right.
Um,
Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No,
Go
you're
ahead.
good. You're good. So, the prediction is that, because of all this, we're going to see more and more problems, more and more lag time. I think that they've said 1 million users have somewhat dropped in the last couple weeks. I'm assuming these are people who personally just ethically don't want to deal with anything that Musk is tied to. But in terms of long term, I mean, I'll be honest, Twitter has never fully reached the heights of Facebook, YouTube, Meta, and now TikTok. I mean, TikTok's really blowing up the numbers too. I
Well, Meta's
don't
going to crash and
see.
burn this stupid metaverse, but
Oh
that's
my
a
god,
whole
the
other conversation.
metaverse. Imagine spending all that money on the fucking metaverse. Um, so I think the idea is what's probably going to happen is what we're going to see maybe the next year is it just becomes a less like it's hard to use, it's not working, there's like issues with it, and I don't know. I mean, will it ever fully die? Who knows? Will it be something that people want to use or don't want to use? Does it become, quote, this more hub for conservatism and for these values that Elon Musk has connected himself to in the name of free speech? Elon has talked about bringing back Vine, which the response that I've seen has not been positive to that. It feels like people are like, dude, Vine's 2013. We're on TikTok
Mhm.
now. I don't know if it makes sense to bring back Vine, especially
Well,
when Twitter itself is not necessarily performing as well as it could be or should be to its peers. So I don't
I,
know.
I,
What do you think's
I
gonna
have a
happen?
point. Well, I have a point on that too, and
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot about that. Because that was another one of his edgy things. Was I'm going to bring back Vine,
Hmm.
and I guess a couple of his engineers approached him and said, "Let's take out the fact that people have generally kind of moved on from Vine.
Yeah.
There's Reels now, there's YouTube Shorts, there's TikTok. Vine, it was a flash in the pan. It was beautiful, but we've moved on.
Hmm.
Take all of that out. The systems that Vine was built on, I'm talking the code, the data,
Hmm.
the software, none of it is compatible with like today's systems because it's been gone so long.
Yeah.
And I guess this engineer told Elon, he goes, "You need to stop this shit." He goes, "This stuff can't work." He goes, "You don't have the resources, you don't have the time, you don't have the knowledge anymore because you got rid of it all to
Hmm.
do these things. And now you want to bring all this stuff back. You're going to promise the moon, and either A, it's not going to happen, or B, it's going to come back and just be so horribly buggy
Hmm.
that it won't work." Here's the thing. I don't now that if Elon hadn't bought Twitter, I think Twitter would have eventually faded away. I don't think it would have been like abrupt and gone.
I think
I
it
think it
had
would
the potential to be a niche social media, kind of like a
right.
Tumblr. I mean, because even
Well,
Tumblr,
let me finish.
Tumblr is still around. Like it's not
Right,
gone, but it's still around.
right. Well, anyways, so I don't think it would have. I think it would have just gone the Tumblr route, where it would have faded into the background.
Hmm.
But now that Elon has it, I don't think it's going to go away because that would be basically him admitting defeat, I guess, in a way. And I don't really see him doing that. Um, what I do unfortunately see happening is the thing is he doesn't know how to run companies like this.
Hmm.
He's never had a social media company, and as weird as it sounds, okay, maybe he's smart with running businesses. I'll
Hmm.
give him that. Sure, whatever. But he's not a data engineer. He's not a software engineer, at least to my knowledge.
Hmm.
I don't think he's ever done stuff like that. And he's not he's letting go of these people who he thinks aren't integral to this. Clearly, it's already
Hmm.
happened. And he's just trying to make waves, and it's just going to become they've
Hmm.
already had issues with verification.
Hmm.
People were logging out and couldn't log back in. It was just horribly buggy, the blue check mark thing. And he has this weird thing of, because if you work for me, you're going to work 80 hours a week, you're going to do it. And
Hmm.
people just aren't about that anymore. And he's going to try to die on this hill, this really weird
Hmm.
hill. And I think it's just going to get really crappy,
Yeah.
really buggy. It's going to have a horrible,
Hmm.
stinky stigma attached to it.
Hmm.
And people are just going to fade away.
What
And
sucks though to me is like when he says we're gonna work 80 hours, the people that are really affected by that are people who are here on work visas who have
yeah,
to meet these demands. It's really easy for Sally Struthers and Sam Smith, who were born in the USA and could leave Twitter and go work somewhere else and not have to worry about deportation or finances, etc. That's who my heart goes out to, are the people who are still working at Twitter,
mhm,
unable to leave because of certain
you're
elements
right.
like that, which is really upsetting. I mean, that to me is really upsetting because it almost feels like some kind of pseudo wage slave kind of prisonee almost relationship there,
Mhm.
where you're kind of almost saying, well, you have no choice but to work those 80 hours for
Right.
me. And I think you're right too. In the last 2 years, we've seen this anti-work kind of like whiplash, with COVID and quote unquote essential workers and these companies that were doing shady things and wage issues. And I think you're right. I think we are in a society that no longer the average person does not believe in I'm just going to work all the time. And this comes from someone who, listen, I work all the time. But
Yeah.
I think the average person, they're like, listen, I'm not going to become a millionaire. I'm not going to become a billionaire. I just need to get my basic needs met. I got to cover for me, cover for my family, whatever it is. And that's what I got to do. And I'm
And
not going to go above and beyond.
people started putting their families back over their jobs in reality, and honestly.
100%. As they
And so,
should. As they should.
but going back to the situation, and he's already kind of showed his hand with this too,
Mhm.
is that he doesn't really care, as he, I guess, from the business stance, shouldn't. He doesn't care about the users. He doesn't care about you being on Twitter. He doesn't care about me being on
Mhm.
Twitter. What he does care about is big companies being on Twitter. AT&T, Pepsi, who, these huge massive corporations, those are the ones he cares about being on Twitter, because those are the ones who pay the bills.
But they're not
But
going to pay the
hold
bills because of this whole
hold
fiasco. They stopped their spending, Paul.
well, no, here's this too. You forget that. So they stop their spending. Okay, they're still
Yeah.
there. What will be the end of Twitter is if companies start saying, is it worth it to even be on this platform anymore at all? Because it'll become so toxic. And if he really does get rid of content
Mhm.
moderation, if it becomes racist, if it becomes transphobic or homophobic, to a point where these companies think, you know what? I don't want to be in this space anymore. I don't want my company in this sphere anymore. I don't want my name in this dialogue anymore. We're
Mhm.
leaving, entirely cutting it. That is when things are going to turn. When companies not only are not spending their money, but they're not even there anymore.
I
That's
don't
what's
think
going to
that's going to happen. I think, we live in a capitalist society where they have the 30 million followers. They're going to pimp their product to those 30 million people. I think it'll become less of a main focus. They'll probably create stuff for TikTok, create stuff for Meta, create stuff for YouTube that gets recycled over to Twitter. If anything, I think what we'll see is, small companies, startup companies, they're probably not going to even start a Twitter account, right? They're just going to focus on Meta. They're going to focus on TikTok. I know right now, if you look up content creator jobs right now, where they all focused? They're focused on TikTok. And
happen.
that's where everyone wants to be
Even
focused on.
industries even industries that don't make sense to be on TikTok are focusing
Yeah,
on.
100%. I think to be fair to Elon Musk, which ooh, I can't believe I'm saying that. Ooh, to be fair to Elon Musk, I think people were kind of over the Twitter wave anyway. The only brands that I think were really there were the ones that had millions of followers because they joined back in 2009, 10, 8, 11, that high time to be on Twitter, right? I
Or
mean,
people like Wendy's who made such a niche name for themselves there.
100%. And I don't see them giving that up, but I could see them not putting a focus on that content. Absolutely. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, Paul, if you have 70 million followers on whatever platform, you're not just going to abandon that.
It depends on how much of a statement you want to make.
But like, let's be real. All these companies, this is what I hate, right? The same companies that donated for Pride are donating right now to FIFA's World Cup in, is it Qatar?
Qatar.
Qatar. So it's like, Coca-Cola, oh, here's 7 million for the gays. Oh, here's 7 million for, a country that, has X, Y, and Z problems with, human rights. It's like at the end of the day, these companies don't care enough. What they care about? They care about their money. And if they can get the publicity, no
Mhm.
matter what the factors are, I don't think they care. I don't.
You have a point. You have a point. And maybe I'm wrong, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. That's all I can say.
I mean, I don't want to say I'm right, but I think, yeah, what's probably going to happen is there's going to be less focus on, Twitter specific content or,
Right.
just recycling over content from other streams. So, all right. Well, you know what? We had a long discussion. There is
My voice
one,
is raw.
I know, right? There is one thing that we both know. If we had $44 billion, we'd spend it a hell of a lot better than Elon Musk.
Oh
That is
yeah.
what we know.
I'm buying Lake Erie.
Ooh, I want a seal sanctuary. Can I get a seal sanctuary on Lake Erie?
Yeah.
So I get all my seals, and I'm like, get the beach ball, you bitch, get the beach ball. Um,
Oh Lord.
okay, you can tell I'm loopy. By the way, this episode unofficially sponsored by Hard Mountain Dew, Paul.
Wait, is that alcoholic?
It's alcoholic Mountain Dew, no caffeine. It comes in cherry, watermelon, Baja Blast, and regular, and it's 120 calories. And boy, zero sugar. It's phenomenal. The flavor profile. It might be
I'm
a
actually,
top. It might be a
I'm actually,
top three
yeah,
of all time seltzer for me. Honestly,
I'm
I'll be
actually
honest.
surprised Mountain Dew would do that. To be honest.
Oh, everybody's in the seltzer game. I'm surprised Elon Musk hasn't, bought Truly Lemonade for like $1.5 billion or something. Um,
All right.
well, hey, it's good seeing you. We got to do this again soon. Actually, I have an idea, and I would love to do it next week. And it's we've done this segment many times before, perfect for the holidays. So, stay tuned. We'll have to get on that. So, all right, I can tell Paul's like, I'm over this. Peace out, you guys.
Later.